Well, the Wall Street Journal editorial board weighing in on the climate convention, writing, quote, "It's bizarre to organize a summit like this while Europe is battening down for a winter fuel crisis. President Biden is begging OPEC to produce more oil, and China is firing up its coal-fueled power plants." Reaction now from Canary CEO Dan Eberhart. He is in the oil field services business. Dan, it is an ironic timing, and I'm just wondering, as Americans face, I'm told, at least a 30% increase, at least in natural gas prices for the winter. Is this the right time for a conference that is basically going to call fossil fuels the enemy?
Well, I think the timing is ultimately a bit off. Look, in Europe, they're looking at, winter heating prices that are going to be twice as much. And Europe actually has quite a bigger, fuel crisis and energy crisis going on than what we're seeing in the U.S.
So what are we going to see here in the United States? You say that it's not going to be as bad as Europe, but we're already facing natural gas prices that are 30% higher, and gas prices at the pump for petroleum are almost double what they were a year ago.
Yeah, well, I think there's a confluence of things going on, but ultimately what's happening is, I think the Biden administration is playing to the far left and the progressives with this aspirational energy agenda, but it's something that voters don't necessarily want to pay for. And so there's really three sides to the triangle here, because Biden wants cheaper energy, but he also wants to appease the folks on the progressive left that want to tackle climate change more immediately. But at the end of the day, the voters aren't really ready to pay for it. So I think that it's really a conundrum that the administration is trying to have it both ways right now.
Dan, it's not only not willing to pay for it, it's wondering whether the energy exists. I mean, are they leapfrogging science, leapfrogging technology by calling for carbon neutrality by 2050?
Well, of course, look, this is a case of politicians are chasing headlines. Different states, particularly California and the federal government under the Biden administration is chasing these carbon-free headlines, these electric car headlines, but the science and the technology isn't there yet. And the fact of the matter is, to get through 2021, to get through 2022, and probably to get through the rest of the next decade, we're really going to be relying on natural gas, we're going to be relying on oil, and then to a lesser degree, we're going to be relying on coal. I also think, as your segment started, it's a really big deal that China and Russia aren't participating at the highest levels in this COP26 crisis. Look, we all want cleaner air, we all want cleaner water. The real question is, how much are we willing to spend to get there? And can we get the third world countries involved so that China, India, Brazil are not continuing to open up new coal plants, which goes against the entire premise of the meeting, what the world is trying to accomplish.
Dan, there's also the question of our electric grid and whether it's capable of dealing, for example, with all the new electric cars that are going to come online, particularly as we begin to transition away from fossil fuels. We saw the crisis last year in Texas with the windmills not able to stand up to the freezing weather. We see problems with solar energy when the clouds keep coming. I mean, again, there are going to be more demands ever on our electric grid because of the electric cars and other things. Are we prepared for that?
No, we're not. And I'll just point to what's happened actually this year in Scotland. They closed some coal-fired plants and were reliant on wind energy. There wasn't enough wind, and it created a huge energy crisis where fertilizer plants, poultry facilities, and several other places that use this energy kind of intensely in Scotland had to close. We could see similar things happen here in the U.S. And what's most important here is that we have a fundamental mismatch, a disconnect between aspirationally where we want to go with energy and what we're trying to accomplish by being carbon neutral, and what the politicians are calling for, and what industry and the energy industry can actually produce in the short term. And the two really don't correlate and aren't meeting. And we need to be honest about what we can accomplish, and we also need to be honest with voters that this much of a decrease in carbon is going to cost this much, and this is what it's going to cost you and your family. And I think the politicians are just wanting the headline the headline out of these conferences, or out of this specific conference in general, and not being honest with voters.
Dan, I need a very quick answer to this last question. We had about 13 million barrels a day being produced domestically about a year ago. It's down to about 11 million barrels a day now. A lot of people say because of the war on fossil fuels. What do you think it will be a year from now?
I think a year from now, it'll be about 12. And I think OPEC is really waiting to see what the supply response from U.S. shale is going to be with these higher prices.
Okay. Dan Eberhart, great to see you. Terrific, specific information. We appreciate it. Thanks very much.